Real accountability starts with abolishing ICE, impeaching Kristi Noem, and rethinking how we enforce immigration policy in this country.
Can I respond to that? Can I respond to that?
No.
Of course not. Look, you want to know why there's 50,000 people in detention? You want to know why we have 1 million illegal entries in the United States? You want to know why we have these issues? Because you have failed to secure the border. You have failed to work with this president to close the 3 loopholes we've asked for 2 years to close. So if you want to know why this issue exists, you need to look in the mirror. You have failed American people for not securing the border and closing loopholes.
Mr. Homan, please respect the chair and the authority of the chair. The time of the gentleman has expired.
What I am saying is common sense. You're a visitor. You're not even an American. You're a foreign national. You're here because we gave you a visa to be here temporarily, and now you're out there defending and supporting Hamas, a terrorist organization. You need to go.
Did you just watch that? Ilhan Omar, a sitting member of Congress, called to abolish the very agency enforcing laws her own chamber wrote, and Tom Homan looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Look in the mirror." That is the most devastating 4-word shutdown in congressional history, and the left is melting down over it. Stay right there, because after this clip I am going to break down every single moment of this beautiful demolition, expose the jaw-dropping hypocrisy at the heart of the Democrat immigration scam, and tell you what the media is desperately trying to bury. Hit that like button right now, subscribe if you haven't already, and do not go anywhere. The full breakdown is coming, and you are not going to want to miss a word of it.
Can I respond to that? Can I respond to that?
No.
Of course not.
I want to give you some time, but I do want to ask one quick question, and I want to make one quick statement. I find it very offensive that anybody would compare any federal employee, frankly, to someone who, the Gestapo or running Nazi concentration camps. That is very offensive. I have 15 seconds, and I yield it to you.
Thank you for saying that. I wish somebody in Democratic leadership would say that out loud. Look, you want to know why there's 50,000 people in detention? You want to know why we have 1 million illegal entries in the United States? You want to know why we have these issues? Because you have failed to secure the border. You have failed to work with this president to close the 3 loopholes we've asked for 2 years to close. So if you want to know why this issue exists, you need to look in the mirror. You have failed American people for not securing the border and closing loopholes.
Mr. Homan, please respect the chair and the authority of the chair. The time of the gentleman has expired.
I've asked you politely to let me go beyond my time, and you let other people go beyond their time, but not to Tom Homan. He don't get to go beyond his time.
Mr. Homan, we have approved an agreement between the Republicans and the Democrats with the ranking member. We increased the time of one member of Congress who was interrupted by a protest. That is done with the approval of the ranking member. Please respect the chair's authority.
I respect the chair's authority, but the chair...
Mr. Homan!
You work for me. I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
The witness will suspend.
The story that has never been successfully refuted, even though it's now a 5-year-old story, that's clearly a deportable offense. Is there an investigation into that?
You know, I just got advised by a fraud investigator the other day on that. I asked the question, who reviewed the file, and says, there was immigration fraud involved. The statute of limitations became an issue in the last 4 years when this was first brought up.
Knowing all of that, here's Ilhan Omar on our immigration system under this president and the job that you're doing.
This is certainly not what the founding fathers of the American dream were thinking about when they said, that when they set out to write the Constitution.
What's your reaction to that?
Unlike the Biden administration, we're following the Constitution. We're enforcing the law. We're not ignoring the law. And you're right. The proper, assimilation is important, and it's going to be required. Not only that, when they come here on a legal program, they're required to be self-sufficient. They have to prove they're self-sufficient. So a lot of them, first thing they're doing to get here is get on the public dole. President Trump put his foot down, and like I said earlier, we're doing a deep dive on thousands and thousands of files, and we'll hold people accountable. And I'm so tired of them pulling the race card all the time,
right.
Because we're doing this racist. ICE has arrested people from 180 different...
Trump mentioning the Daily Mail reporting from 2020 that Ilhan Omar married her brother to get into the country. This was last week. Take a listen.
Look at their nation. Look how bad their nation is. It's not even a nation. It's just people walking around killing each other. They've taken billions and billions of dollars. They have a representative, Ilhan Omar, who they say married her brother. It's a fraud.
Calls that a fraud. It's a story that has never been successfully refuted, even though it's now a 5-year-old story. That's clearly a deportable offense. Is there an investigation into that?
You know, I just got advised by a fraud investigator the other day on that. I asked the question, who reviewed the file and says, there was immigration fraud involved. The statute of limitations became an issue in the last 4 years when this was first brought up. Who was president? Who ran DOJ? So pulling the records now, pulling the files, and we're looking at, but this fraud investigator, who I know personally, one of the best fraud investigators in HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, said there's no doubt he reviewed the file. So I'm running that down this week, matter of fact, and we'll see.
Tom Homan just walked into hostile territory, got gavelled, got cut off, got lectured about respecting authority by people who have zero respect for the American people, and he still won every single exchange without breaking a sweat.
That is what spine looks like in Washington. Ilhan Omar wants to abolish ICE. Let that sink in.
She wants to eliminate the enforcement arm of immigration laws that Congress itself passed, laws she swore an oath to uphold.
She doesn't get to light the house on fire and then scream about the smoke. And Holman nailed it perfectly. You want to know why there are 50,000 people in detention? You want to know why there were 1 million illegal entries?
Because Democrats had 2 years, 3 loopholes, and 0 political courage. They chose open borders over American safety, and now they want to perform outrage about the consequences. That is not governance. That is cowardice dressed up in committee procedure. And the Nazi comparisons, comparing federal law enforcement officers to the Gestapo, that is a moral obscenity. These are men and women with families, with badges earned through service, being smeared by politicians who haven't done a hard day's work in their lives. The fact that no one in Democratic leadership stood up and condemned that tells you everything you need to know about where that party is right now. Then they tried to silence him. Gavels, time limits, procedural tricks, every weapon in the arsenal deployed to shut down the one man in that room telling the truth.
And what did Holman say? You work for me.
I am a taxpayer. That is the entire point of representative government distilled into one sentence, and it hit that committee room like a thunderbolt because these people have forgotten it entirely. And then there's the elephant in the room that the legacy media will absolutely not touch. The fraud investigation Holman confirmed is actively being run down this week by one of the best investigators in Homeland Security. A 5-year-old story that has never been successfully refuted. And conveniently, the statute of limitations became an issue during the previous 4 years. Real accountability doesn't come with an exemption stamp. You don't get to demand it for everyone else and dodge it yourself. The Democrats walked into that hearing expecting to bully a witness and walked out having exposed their entire failed immigration strategy on camera. Tom Homan didn't just hold the line, he reminded every single one of them that the American people are watching, we are paying attention, and we are done being lied to.